And as you know, I don't know whether I should say this to Mr Stevenson, but we can be generous with time. I'm sure you'll have an anecdote somewhere.
Well, that's very generous. I'll try and not abuse your trust. And that's two Deputy Presiding Officers who've made that offer to me, so I'd be very impolite not to make use of it. Presiding Officer, when we go online, we're confronted with a series of risks. Now, it is worth saying I worked on my first online system in the 1960s, and I sent my first email in 1980, and I first did my online banking using a public network in 1983. So I have a long history, and others will similarly have a long history. Yes, that might even be before some of the previous speakers were born. I will, yes.
I trust this is about his long history, Mr.
I'm just wondering, in the context of his recent remarks, whether you could confirm, in relation to Tavish Scott's remarks, whether he was indeed alive when Socrates first caused consternation regarding writing.
Mr. Stevenson.
My great-uncle Socrates has said many wise things, and we will continue to draw from the well of knowledge of the Greek and Roman philosophers. But let's return to matters more local, and in particular the internet. Now, many of us will know nothing of the real risks, and if we were explained all the risks out there, we might not understand what they are. New risks are being created, deliberately or accidentally, every single day. One of the things I believe, and I will turn to this in more detail later, is that we should detect better those who are creating risks so that we can hunt them down with the force of law. Now, for children, who are the focus of today's debate, there are very special risks. Being presented with material, let me describe it simply as being beyond their age, carries with it the potential of psychological damage that could endure throughout their lives. Their brains are plastic. The brain's future operation is more affected by present and past experience and knowledge than an adult's brain is. Children have not yet acquired an adult set of critical faculties that enable the filtering out and discarding of inappropriate material. They comparatively lack the power to discriminate. To express a very complex piece of science, probably oversimply, until puberty, many of our memories seem to be literal. We remember pictures and sounds. This is eidetic memory. As we become adults, our memory moves to an interpretive memory, where we remember the meaning of our experiences in preference to simply retaining a picture in our brain. That's much more convenient because it enables us to create an index to retrieve information. So just as we protect youngsters from physical danger, we need to protect them from psychological danger. So what, therefore, are the particular dangers? As in the physical world, we want our young to avoid unsavoury characters who might exploit, abuse, or otherwise harm them as individuals. We want them to avoid engagement with potentially corrupting material. We want to protect their personal assets, however modest they may be. As adults, we mostly have the wherewithal to a fair degree to monitor and guide a youngster's contact with the world and the people in it. We understand the physical world pretty well. But the focus of the plans we discussed today is towards helping our children access the internet in a safe way. And that is both necessary and helpful that we should do so. But the online story is highly complex and rapidly evolving. There are about 4 billion people online, and there are many more identities than that. Multiple identities abound on the internet. Now, if you choose to interact with me on Twitter, and this will be true for most of us here, in my case it's ZS Stevens, I'll repeat that in case you want to hear it again, ZS Stevens, you'll see a little tick in a blue circle next my name. That means that Twitter has verified that I am who I say I am. And that's quite an important thing, because relying on this, in the case of Twitter, removes a source of ambiguity of identity that enables much, but not all, of the risk in the online world. All responsible media providers need to make available similar identity-proved facilities. There is already a certification system available for websites. The best websites you access via HTTP protocol 1080. There's an S goes at the end. There's a lock appears saying that that website has a certification. We now need robust and unbypassable software, perhaps required by law, perhaps enforced at ISPs and at an appropriate point in the future, that can restrict communication only to verified online entities, in particular entities that purport to be real people. Now, some international examples. Estonia suffered the most extreme cyber attack from Russian-based hackers some 10 years ago. The history is more than I have time to explain. Today, their e-resident and other initiatives are transforming the small Baltic state into a world leader in creating a safe online world for citizens in their business lives. At €100 a pop, it remains too expensive for mass deployment for all. This is an Estonian e-resident card. It's a paper copy of one. I haven't spent the €100. But in the post-Brexit world, there are a lot of UK citizens are looking at becoming Estonian e-residents because of the advantage it gives. Now, Jamie Green didn't directly refer to it, but essentially that system gives you the ability to electronically sign anything that you put on the internet. That protects the integrity of your communication and protects the receivers of it. The website Wired describes Estonia as the most advanced digital society in the world. There are other small nations that are our near neighbours, Macedonia, Serbia, Albania and Croatia, that are doing legislative work in this area and looking at electronic systems. They have what appears to be a disadvantage, but in this circumstances an advantage of having comparatively undeveloped infrastructures. They're leapfrogging present technologies into different futures. Let's look at India for another approach. In 2009, the Indian government launched a massive project called Aadhaar to provide a digital identity to everyone based on an individual's fingerprints and retina scans. As of 2016, the programme has issued 12-digit identification numbers to 1.1 billion people. It's believed to be the largest and most successful IT project in the world, has created the foundations for a digital economy. It's voluntary, but almost everyone from the totally illiterate to the billionaire banker wants to be part of it. And indeed, they are currently running a competition for youngsters to produce 30-second videos to support other youngsters to get engaged with the internet and the Aadhaar system in an appropriate way. By possessing unambiguous proof of identity and appropriate technology, Indian citizens can effect cashless transfer of value without banks, without central record, without worries. They can open bank accounts without the hassle that we have to, because they've got an assured identity that they can use to do so. That's the kind of initiative that creates potential for a safe environment online generally for adults and for children alike when they are online. So what actually can technology make possible? And it's here today, it just ain't implemented in this way. We can, for every image, for every text block, for every blog, for everything on the internet, we can today market uncorruptibly and verifiably so that you know who the individual who has produced it is. Now, if we could do that, that creates for law enforcement the possibility to hunt down the wrongdoers, if you can require that it is to be done. Can you? Yes, you can. You could require the internet service providers through which all internet traffic flows to always check that they only pass through to their subscribers things that have been digitally signed. So there are some difficulties with that, of course. We have anonymous hotlines. We need to have them as part of the check and balances of our system. So can that be dealt with? I'll come back to that in a moment. Software, verified identity and law can complement the kind of plans within our government's paper. There's no time to waste. We could be world leaders in this, although others have got got out of the starting blocks fairly easy. I'm very happy to support the government's plan as it is. Now, let me just talk a little bit about how you deal with hotlines and whistleblowing.
I'll give you a little bit more time.
I'm nearly there.
I feel I'm at a seminar, and it's very interesting.
All right.
I want to give other people extra time.
No, I'm nearly there, Presiding Officer. One of the ways you can deal with proper use of anonymity is, of course, to license a restricted number of services within that can receive material that is unsigned. They then would have the responsibility of looking at that material and republishing it with their signature, having verified that it's appropriate so to do. So there are ways, even in the world where you require everyone to have an identity, that you can protect the rights of those who properly need to be anonymous. Now, in my contribution, I've simply tried to say there are some things we could do in the long term. I certainly could speak for hours on the subject, but your generosity is much appreciated. Beware, there are many simplifications in what I've said. If you really want the seminar, I should be in the bar at 5 o'clock.